First at 4, destructive storms are gone. The cooler, crisp air is here, and now the cleanup begins. Find out what the weekend has in store. Sandra?
All right, Ben. Also, an X marks the spot. Could this be the new location for the so-called Romeo Rock? But first, why a triple fatal fire has become a homicide investigation in Detroit. All these stories next, First at 4.
Live from downtown Detroit, home of WDIV and Click on Detroit, Local 4 News First at 4 starts now.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sandra Ali in for Karen Drew. First at 4 today, a homicide investigation now underway after 3 people are found dead after a house fire. It happened overnight on Helen Street near 7 Mile and Van Dyke. Witnesses say someone could be seen running from the home right around the time the fire started. Investigators say the bodies were burned so badly they were unrecognizable. Right now, 2 people are in custody for questioning as investigators try to determine how they died. We're going to have a live update for you on the investigation coming up tonight at 5. Michigan native Paul Whelan is now awaiting the conclusion to his espionage trial in a Moscow prison. On Monday, it's expected that he will be found guilty for allegedly accepting a confidential flash drive just after Christmas. This was back in 2018. Russian prosecutors are asking the judge to sentence him to 18 years in a forced labor camp. In a very strange twist, Paul's family telling Local 4 they're actually looking forward to Monday. Rod Maloney explains what that's all about coming up tonight at 5. The cleanup continues today after Wednesday night storms wreaked havoc all across Metro Detroit. Those severe storms toppled trees, hitting areas like the Grosse Points especially hard. Crews worked throughout the day today trying to clean up. Most of the neighborhoods had a few branches or a few limbs down, but some trees came down completely. A neighbor watched a tree estimated to be about 100 years old graze a nearby home.
I saw it all come down from my window, and it was a simultaneous large burst of air that took down both of these tree limbs in a chain reaction. And at the same time, I could hear like a really large boom.
Right now, DTE says 78,000 customers are still without power at this hour. The utility saying most people should be back on by Friday night, but some might have to wait until Saturday. If there's one silver lining in the power outages, at least it's cooling down a bit outside. Let's go now to your first forecast. And Ben, that was a scary night last night.
It really was, Sandra. Those storms were moving at a good clip, and of course the winds they produced upwards of 70 miles an hour. We had one gust clocked at 69 and suspected that many of those gusts may be even higher than that outside of the reporting stations. Dozens of damage reports across the area, lots of trees and power lines down. And of course, we saw some of the damage there on the east side. We'll talk more about this and go in depth coming up on Local 4 News at 5. But let's talk the good stuff, which is a whole lot of sunshine. And you could tell the difference in that drier air. All that humid stuff from Cristobal is gone. Mid-70s for temperatures. Winds down out of the west and have chased all that humidity away. It's a much drier atmosphere, and will stay that way through the weekend. Temperatures tonight headed down into the 40s in some spots, and we will talk a cooler weekend. In fact, that may be what we see for highs on Saturday. More on that in just a few minutes. Sandra?
All right, thank you, Ben. Breaking news now we're following for you on Wall Street. The market has just closed, and as you can see here on your screen, the Dow plunging 1,800 points. The steep drop-off caused by concern over an increase in coronavirus cases in states that are now reopening. Traders once again dumping airline, cruise operator, and retailer stocks. Instead, they're going back to stocks that benefit from those stay-at-home order stocks like Netflix and Zoom. New unemployment numbers out today show some promise in the job market. The pace of new claims went down for a 10th straight week. 1.5 million people applied for benefits last week. Still, though, unemployment is at a historic high. The number of people collecting benefits for 2 weeks or more right now is at about 21 million. At this hour, President Trump expected to talk about police reform with law enforcement and black faith leaders in Dallas. Now, up until now, the president has been largely silent when it comes to plans to move forward after the outcry over George Floyd's death. Let's go to Steve Garagiola. He's in the newsroom now with a look at what we might expect during those talks. Steve?
Hey, Sandra. The president arrived in Dallas late this afternoon. He offered no comments as he left the White House earlier today. So here's where things stand right now. There is activity in Congress. House Democrats have already proposed a sweeping police reform bill. NBC News is reporting that the president might announce today measures that he could enact by executive order, with more proposals possibly coming next week. He is reportedly looking at limiting chokeholds, curbing no-knock warrants, and creating a national registry for police officer misconduct. Today, the Congressional Black Caucus held a forum on police accountability. Some spoke about why the charges against Derek Chauvin, that police officer in Minneapolis, show the need for drastic change.
When you see defendant Chauvin pressing his knee and putting his hands in his pocket and looking into the camera, he is saying, I can do this because there is no consequence. That's the culture of impunity.
Now, we have heard that House Democrats could vote on their police reform bill in about 2 weeks. Senate Democrats, including Kamala Harris and Cory Booker, are already involved, but it's not clear if a bill could pass the Republican-controlled Senate. We will, of course, follow any and all new developments. Sandra?
All right. Thank you, Steve. The Detroit Public Schools Community District put on a peaceful protest today. This one was led by the superintendent, Superintendent Vitti. People marched from MLK Junior Senior High School to the Spirit of Detroit in downtown. Vitti says for him, the fight he feels is about equity and making sure Detroit students get the same opportunities as children who live in other school districts. Now we have a Local 4 update for you at this hour out of Macomb County. You know that we've been following efforts to protect the so-called Romeo Rock. Someone painted racial slurs on the landmark, which were quickly painted over. Concerned citizens are now guarding the rock to keep those messages positive. And at the same time, efforts are underway to find a new home for the rock as it's on private property that's being developed. Today, support is growing for a plan to move it to a location outside the Grosvenor Library. Right now, there's even an X marking the spot where the rock could go. And of course, we're going to keep you posted once a decision is made. The United States has reached a new milestone when it comes to coronavirus cases. All across the country, there are a little more than 2,002,000 cases. That's as of today, with more than 113,000 deaths. The state of Michigan reporting 27 new deaths today. That's up from yesterday's number. And there have been 218 new cases recorded, pushing the total in Michigan above 59,000. Today, Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan is encouraging Detroit barbers to get tested as the city's barbershops and salons are getting ready to reopen next week. The mayor, in fact, just got tested live during a news conference today to show everyone how easy it is, and he did test negative. As more businesses come back online, others are still waiting in the wings, waiting to get started. Those in the swim school industry believe that they're essential because they help keep children safe in pools and lakes. Paula Tutman talked to two competitors who formed a surprising team to get the industry up and running again.
As Governor Whitmer continues her phased and measured reopening plan, swimming pools are allowed to reopen, but not swim schools. But once again, in the time of COVID, strange bedfellows are made, just trying to navigate. This is what a typical swim class used to look like. And this is an example of what swim class needs to look like moving forward until COVID-19 is managed and or eradicated. Two swim schools, Goldfish Swim School, founded and headquartered in Michigan, and Aquatots, with numerous franchises in Michigan, have joined forces to create industry best practices to present to Governor Whitmer.
We all have the same goal, which is to teach children how to swim and be safer in the water. So why not band together and have a voice to help us get open as quickly as possible, as safely as possible.
Gone are certain amenities that force the sharing of touch points, blow dryers, fun retail, and even dressing room use should be minimized.
The parent will come in with their child. Obviously, we'll ask them to be ready to jump into the pool as soon as they get there, and we'll have space for them to put their individual belongings so that we don't have the cross-contamination.
We're really skinning it down to the essence of what we're trying to do, which is save lives, open. People can come in at the time, ready to put their kid in the pool, grab their kid and take them out and get the life-saving instruction that they need.
Parents won't be required to wear masks in the pool with their infants and toddlers, but instructors will.
So this is essentially what we're using in the pool. And it gives the children and the parents the safety that we require. It gives us our distancing guidelines that we need to adhere to from the CDC. And I think it achieves everything we want with teaching kids to swim and be safe in the water and also be safe from, COVID-19.
The kids that you need to get close to, and that's why we're having our staff wear face shields, is they're the highest risk of drowning if they don't have the necessary skills.
We have a COVID response action plan that is thoughtful and will allow us to do our job in a safe way. We believe that the danger of drowning, which is one of the leading causes of death in children, is, needs to be mitigated through our services. So allow us to prove that we can do this safely and open our businesses and bring this life-saving skill back to our communities.
Obviously, the hope in putting together this playbook of best practices is that swim schools will indeed be allowed to reopen soon. Paula Tapman, Local 4.
All right. Thank you, Paula. The CDC has, in fact, released guidance that suggests the coronavirus can't survive in chlorine. So swim schools believe with proper protection protocols, they can also provide a safe learning environment as well. Still ahead, a popular country music band has a racial sensitivity awakening and changes its name. We're going to tell you about the change and also the